The Santa Fe High School shooter was identified as 17-year-old student Dimitrios Pagortzis, and he's now charged with capital murder and the deaths of 10 people. And law enforcement say that he also planned to kill himself. So Dr. Worrell with UC Berkeley says it's hard to pinpoint a motive in each individual case because there can be many. And though we may never know for sure, he believes these deadly actions at the hands of a teen don't stem from just depression alone.
But oftentimes people who have a sense of hopelessness, they're not necessarily depressed, but they don't think that there's hope in the future or that there's a chance to turn things around. Then they're more likely to choose a solution that is final. And also, I think people who are hurting, right? If we, the old saying about, somebody, the boss yells at them at work and they go home and they kick the dog. This idea that the lashing out creates a sense of release. And again, that comes back to how do you actively engage with a problem? How do you actively engage with anger?
Dr. Worrell suggests teaching social and emotional strengths as part of general education to serve as a coping mechanism for struggling teens rather than converting schools into fortresses, as we've seen in response to these types of shootings. Tonight at 10, we'll hear from Dr. Worrell on how to move forward from such a scarring event as we've seen. And it's not just over there at Santa Fe High School and their students or their immediate community that is coping with this tragedy tonight, but we've also seen students here in the Bay Area who've rallied for gun violence prevention in San Francisco as well. Live in the newsroom, Ella Sigamonian, KRON 4 News. Yeah, coping with such trauma can be one of the biggest challenges following a mass shooting. So we turn to Dr. Frank Worrell about how students may feel going back to a classroom traditionally thought of as a safe space. Friday morning, students across the United States woke up to news that another shooter claimed lives in a school, this time in Santa Fe, Texas. Bay Area student activists took to San Francisco City Hall that same night to voice their outrage that classrooms are increasingly becoming crime scenes.
It increases their sense of anxiety and they lose their sense of security. Schools used to be a place where you were very safe, even for kids who were having problems at home. Oftentimes the classroom, the school was the place where they could go and feel a sense of security, and that's going away.
UC Berkeley professor of school psychology Dr. Frank Worrell explains it may prove difficult for students immediately impacted by the shooting to continue their studies in light of the tragedy.
This incident is going to certainly have an impact on their ability to be successful in those endeavors. So we may need to create some more space for them to do those kinds of things, either at another school site, at home, but recognizing that there's trauma and that this is not just malingering.
Dr. Worrell suggests teaching social and emotional strengths as part of general education to serve as a coping mechanism for struggling teens rather than converting schools into prison-like environments with metal detectors, as we've seen in response to these shootings in the past.
This is less an issue about making the school a fortress, but deciding that guns, in fact, have a certain place in society. It's way too prominent in our society, and again, showing that there are other ways that one deals with individuals that one has conflict with.
Dr. Worrell says that these horrifying events can have long-term impacts for those affected, so it's important for counselors to revisit students or teachers who may need emotional support even a year or two after a school shooting. Live in the newsroom, Ella Sigamonian, KRON 4 News.